I'm going to preface this by saying the following. I am solely responsible for whatever I say here at the time of disclosure. I will try to be as straightforward as possible in this, but I apologize if anything I say is misconstrued. I hesitate to say confront me on this because the previous few individuals who have reached out to me about this situation have been vaguely threatening. The reason I'm making this into a video is because I'm tired of having this clog up my timeline. It's gotten to the point where I'm getting vaguely threatening messages over the tiniest discrepancies they can find in my work. I can no longer afford to spend my time on adults who choose to throw temper tantrums in my DMs, and would rather that behavior be stopped as well. I've never seen so many adults congregated in one place, all bent on attacking another for speaking up about trauma or past experiences. I have no idea the origin of this hive mind, and frankly, I really don't know if I want to know. The overall point here is that when someone says, "Oh, I read the post," and are still defending this behavior, that likely means that they did not actually read or look into anything said. So if you continue to feel Sarah is an innocent person after watching this video, it is no one's job to keep reiterating this. I intend to be as methodical as possible. And I hate to ask this, but it would be extremely appreciated and helpful if anyone who sees this video please repost it as well. With the platform I have, I only have so much room and I simply want this to be a recognized situation, so that when people engage with this person in the future, they are aware to be alert. This is not new or hardly old information with this individual, because this is someone who constantly acts like this. Otherwise, I would not feel the need to keep reinforcing this message. Now, without further ado, let's delve into the actual message of this video. The individual in question, Sarah, or @SarahSize1084 on Twitter, has threatened to commit a predatory offense to someone who at the time was a child. Now, since everyone jumps to the belief that predatory means pedophiliac, I will define what it means in the case of the law. A child predator means a person who has been convicted of a criminal offense against a victim who is a child. In Canada, the production or distribution of obscene materials is prohibited. It is also an offense to knowingly sell or expose to the public view or to possess for such purposes obscene materials. A related provision in the Criminal Code makes an offense to make, publish, or distribute or possess child pornography, subject to certain limited exceptions. The Criminal Code defines child pornography as the following. Any visual representation of explicit sexual activity with a person who is or who is depicted being under the age of 18, any written material, visual representation, or audio recording that advocates or counsels sexual activity with a person under the age of 18. We are going off Canada laws as that is Sarah's country of residence, however, the same laws are aligned in the United States. The criminal offenses in this context are defined as sextortion and revenge porn. I will now define what those things are and what they entail. I'm not going to use any other source other than the Canada Criminal Code, so if you disagree with me, fight with the wall. Revenge porn is when someone knowingly publishes, distributes, transmits, sells, makes available, or advertises an intimate image of a person knowing that the person depicted in that image did not give their consent to that conduct, or being reckless as to whether or not that person gave their consent to that conduct. The instance in this case is threatening, which falls under advertisement. Now, since people want to argue with me all of the time on what words mean, I will explain my definition of the word advertisement. I'm sorry if this may seem unnecessary, I just really would rather not get more threats. Advertisement, or advertising, is the act of calling something to the attention of the public. Simply put, sextortion is blackmail. It's when someone threatens to send a sexual image or video of you to your friends, family, or other people if you don't pay them or provide more sexual content. Pay them does not entail money, per se. Pay is defined by to make a due return for services rendered or property delivered. I will now display the screenshots in question of this. If you need to pause to read them, please do so. This brings me to my next section, which is what happened between Sarah and Magic. Since people will not read Magic's posts, I will reiterate the situation. In Magic's words, she has done many illegal things, such as claiming to have child pornography of me. She said she edited my face onto some photos, sexually harassed me multiple times, talking about my private parts in a sexual way when I was 17, and threatened to post child pornography photos online, and posting my trauma that another VA told her on her Twitter timeline, saying I was faking it, as well as telling me she hoped I'd get sexually assaulted again. Now, to define something else, since everyone seemed to find this to be a huge issue. Edited pornography is still pornography in the eyes of the law. I will state again, the production or distribution of obscene materials is prohibited in the case of child pornography. Making child pornography is still illegal. Sexual harassment generally refers to unwanted comments or action. This is Canada Criminal Code. Threatening to release CP or unsolicited photography falls back to what I defined before, revenge porn and sextortion. While wishing sexual assault on someone is not a crime, I believe we can all agree that it's pretty fucked up. Sarah's counter-argument, which I will delve into later, prefaces with the following. So, I've heard some people are trying to send me to jail without knowing the full story behind everything I've done. I'm not defending my actions of the past, simply standing up for myself in this moment in time, since I and a lot of others believe I'm a genuinely kind person despite my anger issues. I myself am someone who has dealt with anger issues and living in a household of people with terrible anger issues, and not one of us has threatened to release child pornography. Being angry stops being an excuse when you are a 23, practically 24-year-old adult woman. Another thing, something off of an impulse of anger is not a deliberate, premeditated plan, which is what Sarah had. I will now also play a clip of Sarah's confession video to these activities.
It feels good to finally admit that I did it wrong. I handled the situation wrong, and I assumed that my word would have been right, and that my word would have turned the tables for what was and will always be a child predator. Constant child predator. So yes, I'm sorry you went through this pain, and I'm sorry I caused most of it. I really am. To all of you in the ASMR community, this is SarahLovesVoices, and I'm so sorry. I am really sorry.
I will also recommend please check out Magic's document, as it does have evidence on the case at hand. Another instance was, in Magic's words, this all started when I was a mod in the server she was in. A situation with an adult VA and myself happened when I was 16. They were 20. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but happy to show proof. She decided to involve herself when no one asked her to. She then took it upon herself to call this VA out without my permission, / other people involved. When she called them out, I politely asked her to stop doing that, as I was not ready yet. She then turned on me and sided with the VA who was inappropriate with me. Things got worse as time went on. She would not stop harassing me and my friends, saying I ruined her life, that I was stalking her, and claimed that I hacked her. Now, I will display some of the evidence here. Something else that this individual did was stage suicide attempts. We have multiple accounts of people pointing this out. This all ties back to the purpose of calling it out. People need to be aware and safe when interacting with people like this online. And since someone used this argument against me, None of this counts as defamation. The action of damaging the good reputation of someone, slander or libel, is the definition of defamation. The definition of slander is the action or crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. I've backed up everything I've said with evidence, and as defamation is defined by spreading false information as if it were a fact, I have not done any defaming. Now that I have set the scene, I will now display Sarah's response. I'm not reading this again. I can't help but get infuriated when she labels the acts of her premeditated crimes and acts as this is a result of her anger issues. Everything she does is just further stigmatizing mental illness and making it seem as though it is okay to commit a crime if you claim to have a specific illness. I'm not here to combat the legitimacy of her mental issues, as she posted a video of a skitoloprom, Lexapro, which also doxed her location to the public, so no illegal means were used to get her location for the reports. She released that all herself.
So what happened was about 2 years ago. I used to be friends with all sorts of ASMR creators and even made a large amazing community. Unfortunately, at the time I was friends with Charlotte, also known as StrangeMagic. A few people important to me had decided to predator her. I met certain people and finally came to my own conclusions that she sent nudes to people who didn't know her age. That was the excuse they made, and I believed them, which was very stupid. Things exploded at the time due to my ex-boyfriend trying to get with her, and also my name was circulating around that I supported predators. Alright, time for some evidence dumping again. This looks like support. Just saying. My server is not racist. Shaki and a few others blew everything out of proportion, and even though I don't hate her, I certainly do not appreciate the false info being thrown around so carelessly, simply to have attention, negative attention, at that thrown at me. So yes, I can't say I'm happy over what she's done.
She is not gonna sit over here and try and blame Shaki. Even if it wasn't her, she still had the behavior in her server. As a server owner, you should know how to filter things. She had no problem filtering people who called her out on her bullshit.
And last, but not least,
Did you really just say the slur again?
comment. Yeah, I can't say it was mature, but I can't exactly say they weren't at fault for raiding my server on this gung-ho depression raid stuff when I had finished my job that day and was trying to relax. Not saying I was right because it's a horrible term to say and one I'm not proud of exiting my mouth? But I don't even know what she's saying here. But I did not need 5 people raiding my server to force their beliefs on me and also at everyone, which also added to my many DMs complaining about me.
Do not even pull that. It was people on her server who spoke up when myself and one other person entered. The individual with me was T, better known as Lots of Love. The raid was not even to force their beliefs on her, it was people simply calling her out. She claims to have wanted to handle things privately, but when I asked her to handle things privately, her retort was,
I don't want bullies in my DMs.
Another instance of me trying to communicate with her is as follows.
So yes, these are my honest and true thoughts on the matter. If people want to hate me, I'm alright with it. But I'm not okay with people lying about me and trying their hardest to promote false information.
I just proved every single point she said was false. So, is it still false if proven? The raid. I emphasize on the word raid because I do not believe 2 people joining her server counts as a raid, personally. A raid is a large group. It was, again, 2 people. Anyone else who stood up to her was already in the community. We got roped into the situation from a friend who was already in the server because they had concerns about her claiming that she is being bullied for having depression. We did not know the extent of her actions when we joined, but it only took us scrolling up slightly in the chat to see that her behavior was fucked up. This is when the r-slur incident occurred. A couple hours after the raid debacle, we had learned about the context of the situation with magic and her. The light of this huge problem was made apparent to us. Myself and another VA called Lila Shines posted about the matter before knowing the extent of Magic's situation, and we would update regularly as stuff would happen. Sarah, allegedly, was sick of it. She posted a link to a public server to talk it out. Emphasize on talk it out. I took the invitation to join and did not get quite the great outcome. The call started with me asking if she knew the extent of the allegations that were being made. Her rebuttal immediately went to, "It was in the past," which is not the greatest excuse for a criminal offense. After 20 minutes of that back and forth, I have reason to believe she started playing videos of domestic disputes happening in her background. The reason for the assumption is simple. Things do not peak in the background, it peaks through your microphone. A peak, or an audio peak, is an instantaneous measurement of level in audio. It represents the absolute highest level a signal is reaching, which is very important for observing where it is in relation to the ceiling, or the highest level a digital audio signal can go before distorting or clipping. The audio is clipping, yet her audio is not peaking through her microphone. Audio flatlines when it peaks, or that's what I like to call it. It basically stops curving, yet her audio, when it was playing through Discord, was still curving, but you could hear it clip and distort. The audio was right near her microphone. However, she claims to have never left her room. When I said that you could hear it right into her microphone, she then claimed that it was happening in her kitchen. She then says she left and went to the kitchen. The amount of loopholes after that call out proved enough that she was trying to find some kind of argument to latch onto. And even if it was real, we were having a mature discussion in a public server, and she could have muted her microphone. That would mean she brought her microphone to fight with her dad to garner sympathy. I believe she had muted those who weren't her friends by this point, as she started vent dumping and having a pity party when she was cornered. She started suicide baiting again, which was not something she should be doing in a public setting. I will go back to the point of her being a grown adult who is old enough to get a job, get a car, buy a house, do anything other than what she's spending her time on, which is tormenting minors on the internet. There was also a moment where she said she is every slur in the book, to be derogatory to herself. She is a cis-het, able-bodied white woman. No, she ain't every slur in the book. The call ended up being useless as we made a compromise of her distancing herself before having to take further measures. She could not hold her word for over 24 hours. The deal was that she would not use her socials if I, individually, left her alone. I mentioned multiple times that I had zero control over everyone else, and they seemed to agree to these terms, but as soon as someone else speaks up on the matter, the blame falls back to me, I suppose. Without consulting me, she went back to her usual activities on social media as if nothing had ever happened, still continuing to send people after Magic and I. She set up what we believed to be an ambush call for Magic later, as she initially said Magic would bring someone with her, since Sarah was bringing someone to talk on her behalf, but then said Magic could not do that. This leads to when Sarah went quiet on all of her social medias, until she released her document, which brings us to today. If you could listen to all this and still believe Sarah to be an innocent person, honestly, it's not worth trying to bother proving any more than what I've said here. Overall, the situation has been a chaotic mess to deal with, so I think just disclosing everything here and now and promoting serious caution around this individual is what I can see to be the best course of action. Well, other than the dark themes of this video, I do hope that, it was some kind of informative, and I hope from this point onward people know to be cautious of this individual in case, she can't be put in jail. And yeah, well, that's it. Stupid cat boy out.